So you did it. You found the perfect home, your offer got accepted, and then boom, the inspection report lands in your inbox. And it's long, it looks kind of scary, and it could really feel like a deal breaker. But you know what? It doesn't have to be. Today, we are going to turn that stress into your single most powerful negotiation tool. All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll talk about that moment the report actually arrives. Then, we'll figure out how to sort through all the noise to find what really matters. After that, we get to the big one, credits versus actual repairs. From there, we'll get into the right way to make your request, and finally, we'll wrap up with how to handle the negotiation itself to get the best possible outcome. Okay, let's start right at the beginning. That moment of truth, when that super detailed report on what could be your new home is finally in your hands. And let's be real, it is almost always a super long, really detailed document. It's filled with everything from, potentially big problems to the tiniest little cosmetic flaws. Feeling totally overwhelmed at this point? Yeah, that's completely normal. Okay, before you even think about making a list of demands, you have to pause and understand the bigger picture. Because the single most important factor that's going to shape your whole strategy is the current state of the housing market. Your power in this whole negotiation really depends on this. If it's a buyer's market, tons of homes for sale, not as many buyers, you've got the upper hand. But if it's a seller's market, you have got to be way more strategic, because the seller might just say, next, and move on to another offer. Figuring this out is absolutely your first move. Okay, so you know where you stand in the market. Now it is time to actually tackle that report and turn that chaos into a clear, simple plan. This right here is a fantastic way to filter everything. It's called the 4 S's: safety, structural, systems, and superficial. Seriously, go through that report line by line and put every single item into one of these buckets. Sellers are almost always willing to fix safety stuff. Superficial cosmetic things, not so much. This framework's going to help you focus your energy where it actually counts. Really, your goal here is to separate the real deal breakers from the, nice-to-haves. When you stick to the reasonable requests, we're talking health, safety, major functions of the house, you're signaling to the seller that you're a serious buyer, not just someone trying to nickel and dime them over chipped paint. And hey, here's a great pro tip. Think about using a repair threshold. You basically tell the seller you're only going to ask for items that cost more than a certain amount to fix, say $1,000. This is a great way to show that you're focused on what's important and you're not sweating the small stuff. Okay, so you've got your list sorted and you know exactly what you're going to ask for. Now you face what is probably the single most important strategic decision in this entire process. And here's that big decision. Do you ask the seller to make the repairs, or do you ask for a credit at closing so you can handle it yourself? Now, having them do it might seem easier, but you're also running the risk of rush jobs, the cheapest materials they can find, and maybe even delaying your closing date. Honestly, in almost every situation, asking for a credit is the smarter play. It puts you in total control. You get to pick the contractor you trust, you oversee the quality, and you manage the timeline. And most importantly, you avoid the seller's temptation to just find the absolute cheapest, fastest fix just to get the deal across the finish line. So how do you actually ask? Well, this is where communication is absolutely everything, because how you ask is often just as important as what you're asking for. The tone you use here can make or break everything. You have to remember, a lot of the issues that pop up in an inspection report, they can be a total surprise to the seller too. If you come at this conversation with a respectful, kind of collaborative attitude, you're going to get so much further than if you just make a bunch of aggressive demands. So here it is, your 4-step playbook. 1. Get professional quotes so you can back up your request with real numbers. 2. Work with your agent to make your list short, sweet, and to the point. 3. Be realistic, stick to the big stuff. And 4. Do it fast. Keep the process moving forward. All right, you've submitted your request. Now the back and forth begins. It is so important to understand what could happen here, and more importantly, where your real power lies. Let's be crystal clear on this one point. Unless local laws require them to fix a specific safety hazard, the seller is not legally obligated to fix a single thing. They have every right to look at your list and just say no. But, and this is a huge but, this is where you have the ultimate leverage. It's called the inspection contingency. It's that little clause in your contract that gives you the power to walk away from the whole deal, get your deposit back, and go find another house if you and the seller just can't come to a fair agreement. And that really brings us to the final, most important question you have to ask yourself. Knowing all the issues, the potential costs, and where the seller stands, is this the right home for you? Your inspection contingency gives you the power to answer that question honestly. It lets you either compromise fairly or walk away with total confidence knowing you made a fully informed decision. You are in control.